Blythe, I think that one of the things I always think about with a rom-com or a rom-dramedy, as the case may be, is that we have to fall in love with either the hero or the heroine, as the case may be. We certainly fall in love with you as Carol in here. What was the key, though, for you to her? What about her made her leap off the page?
Everything that this man, and I'm not saying it just because he's beside me, and he'll punch me if I don't, but I was so shocked that a young writer, so young, and director and editor, it turns out, would have such insight into someone's my age. I was just, it was mind-boggling to me. I couldn't get over that. And so he patterned this, this play, this everything was on the page. And because I've lived a long life and had a lot to call on, it was one of the easiest jobs I've had. I feel kind of guilty saying that, but it was just so pure and simple, and without embroidery and without over sentimentality. It was just so pure, and it just washed over me. That's what I always hope. I always say that before I go on stage when I'm doing a play. Let the play wash over me, and this piece really did, and I just have to thank him. Also, Sam, to look in this man's eyes. It gives you everything you need. So it was a really wonderful, and all the gals, I mean, we just had a really wonderful time. It was good chemistry. It was as if we'd worked together before, and that wasn't the case.
And Brett, what was the inspiration for the script?
It really came from a place of questions and themes that I think I was asking myself when I was thinking of what to write. I come from a place of curiosity, I think, and empathy. I was saying at a previous Q&A, and I think it's a good way to describe it, I've had a pretty good life, and I haven't had too terribly interesting of a life other than just trying to make movies. That's not a very interesting movie, I don't think. Maybe one day it will be after a long time in this business trying to make movies. But for me, it didn't make sense to write about me, but I was writing about things that I was dealing with and things that I was thinking about. And those things were about loss and about how you can't get through life unscathed, but yet life is a really beautiful and an incredible journey. So it's about finding that balance and looking forward to everything. As Carol says to Lloyd, you're looking forward to everything. You're young, but it's like, I think Carol realizes even older people can still look forward to everything. And I felt that this character of Carol came to me to kind of express those themes and those questions. It felt like that was the right thing to do as a writer. So Mark Bash, my co-writer, and I started there, and let it kind of just take us. Let this character take us. And my first film is about a woman, and this film is about a woman, and I think I'm drawn more to female protagonists than men because I just find them more interesting. I think, yeah, they are. And I find that women have had a tougher go of it. And if there's any idea that you have, you can just literally take the protagonist, and if you make it a woman, I don't care what idea it is, you make it a woman, it's going to be that much more compelling, I think.
I want to go back to that in 1 second because that refers to something that Blythe and I were talking about a minute ago. But to bring the man into the conversation, Sam, the real man, Sam, something about Bill that I think we all can sort of associate with is when you come on screen in any role, you make us as the audience co-conspirators. I think there's sort of a sense of you're with me on this. Come on, watch to see what I do. What was it about Bill that maybe added a new wrinkle to that?
Wow, never thought about that. Bill was, Bill was one of those parts that I could not turn down. I've always been a believer that it's all on the page. And he was pretty perfect, and I think the fact that he died when he did, we probably didn't find out that he was a shit like the rest of us, so. But it was, it was an opportunity to just be a nice guy and play a leading man for the first time in a long time. I've been playing a lot of character parts lately, and it was great to have something like this come around again. I think his directness and his tenderness with Carol was something that really spoke to me, and also having an opportunity to work with Blythe, who I've never met, never crossed paths with in the 50 years we've been in the business, which is always kind of an odd thing, It was a joy, pure joy. and Brett wasn't too bad either. You know, I mean, I'm still kind of mystified by that whole thing. You know, even though I've been sitting next to him doing these Q&As for the last 2 weeks, I thought maybe the mystery was going to show itself and come clear, and I was going to say, aha, now I know why this guy wrote the script or how he wrote it. But I still haven't got a clue, but I'm glad that he did.
Neither do I, man.
Timing is everything, as we always say. It really is. Blythe, something that you mentioned just now is that the role sort of brought a reemergence for you in a way that you said, you know, people see women of a certain age, especially in Hollywood in movies, or they don't see them, is probably more correctly stated. But a movie like this sort of brings all these layers to the fore of what they're going through, and the stillness and the quietness and the liveliness, correct?
Well, I think women in general, when you get to be my age, are marginalized, you know, and there's become invisible. It's really kind of astonishing. I've just noticed that in the last few years. So to have a chance to do this, and this highly three-dimensional woman was wonderful. I haven't done. I mean, even though I've been in several movies, I've never had a lead in a movie ever. And so I'm not as familiar with the film business as I should be, really. I mean, I just know that it's been difficult for, I remember meeting Leslie Caron years ago, and she said, oh, you'll have to leave here when you're 35, you know, this, because it was that back then there was such a dearth of women's roles. It's getting better, and I think the fact that the baby boomer generation is upon us, that there are going to be more demands for films like this. I also, when talking about time, you know, we shot this in 18 days. And the fact that we had this guy at the helm, it was the only reason I think we all got through it, because he was so speedy and yet so kind and good to all of us. You know.
Brett, yet in terms of also the speediness, there is a sense in the film of time unfolding, kind of stillness and quietness. That's hard to write. How did you kind of go about making sure that we were able to sort of see what was going on inside Carol without much dialogue?
I learned from my brother, who's a novelist, and from, I think, you know, just watching great films that you should show and not tell. And I think there was a lot that we did say in the script that I think works on the page, and then you get it in post, and I cut the film as well, so I would look at it, and I would really try to take that step back and be like, am I just like hammering this in? For instance, like there was a scene that we cut at the beginning of the film where someone says like, oh, how's Hazel doing? And you know, cancer, you know, we say the word cancer, like, oh, but then you go back and you go, oh, well, she wakes up and she says, hey, Hazel, you sleep any better last night? That's all you need. And I guess you just have to realize that less is more. If it can be shorter, and if it can pack a 90-minute punch, you know, or a 120-minute punch, you want to take the 90-minute punch always. So for me, it is on the page, and it is for me, it's like you're gathering materials. You're like a chef, and you're like gathering all sorts of ingredients, because you don't know what your final 3-course meal is going to be, so you better have options. So for me, it was about working with the actors, letting them try new things. We did something called the fun take on this movie, where when I was sort of happy, I would say, okay, it's fun take, and the actors that pressure comes off of them. Okay, Brett's happy, let's just, you know, do something and try it. Sometimes you get really unique reactions, or just a line is said a certain way. So I think I'm very conscious of the fact that it really comes together in the editing room. And you've got to have those options, and I think that's where you can find, oh, I don't need this line. You know, I'm glad we got it. I'm glad we had an option in case somebody watched and said, wait, what's going on here? But I think more often than not, 9 times out of 10, you don't need it. So I'm going to continue to do that. It's got to be, you got to be very, you can't be precious with this material. You got to make it. The audience doesn't care about that stuff, and their audiences are really smart. So,
Blythe, as an actress, kind of interacting in a way with the kitchen, you're kind of being still and quiet and still conveying to us. There's challenges to that I would imagine are manifold, that don't present themselves when you're interacting with it. But walking through a house, letting us know what you're thinking, that's a really rich kind of challenge, isn't it?
No, I hadn't even thought of that. I just, when he said roll, walk here, I did.
That's why she's so good, though. Seriously. She's not thinking about, oh, I better do this and I better convey that. she's there, and
We had
she's
18 days.
yeah,
It
she's
was
in
a
the she's in the
lot of
character.
time to think about it.
Yeah, we didn't have any. Yeah, so I think
But I
that-
do love the way
naturalism,
I,
yeah.
I was actually when I've seen it twice, and when we first had those first rooms, those rooms had great character, and I thought they spoke eloquently to her, to Carol's character. I was loved the way you were a set designer and you put that together, and their lighting. It really told a lot. Again, without meaning
without words.
words.
Yeah.